Cassie here, welcome back to my channel. Just a quick disclaimer for this video, I am doing a critical reading of the book P.S. I Love You by Jenny Han. And if this is like your favorite book in the world and you just can't stand to see anybody say anything negative about it, then maybe this isn't the video series for you. I will be doing a critical reading of this book, critiquing the things I don't like and pointing out some of the things that I do like. But I want to remind you all that this is not for the sake of just crapping all over someone's work and making fun of it and just having fun laughing at someone for being a bad writer. This is primarily for educational reasons. I am an author and I have watched videos like this myself, and I feel that I learn so much from hearing what people don't like about a book and even like the little details. So I might be getting a little bit critical here and picking on the tiny things, but that's because I think that that helps us all to become better writers and see what not to do, what sounds a little bit off, and how to do it better. So now that that disclaimer is out of the way, let's get back to the reading. Hey, look at that, I matched my wall. Yay. Anyway, we're back in business. I'm gonna read some more of this book because honestly, I'm just really ready to be done with it. So I want to try to get a few chapters done now if I can, since I have the time. So let's get into it. I like this chapter so far. Largene and John are hanging out at her house. They're trying to figure out a way to get Genevieve out of the game, but honestly, they're just mostly talking about kissing, which is fun. So I'm enjoying this chapter so far. I have nothing negative to say, except the fact that Largene mentioned that she went to the Model UN to see John because she wanted to see how he turned out. And I didn't really think of this when I read it before in the first book, but now that I think about it, like, do they not have social media? Could she not just, like, stalk him on Facebook like everyone else does when they want to see how boys they used to like turned out? Ooh. John and Largene are so cute, you guys. I love him so much. They were talking about the spin the bottle game where he was her first kiss, and he was saying that she was so into Peter then, and that she was staring at the bottle like super hard waiting for her turn so she could kiss Peter, and she said, "Shut up, how do you even remember that?" And he said, "Because I was doing the same thing." And she said, "You were staring at Peter too?" And he said, "No, I was looking at you. Because John is smooth AF. And I am here for it." Okay, so that chapter ended with John telling Largene that he likes her and that he's always liked her and that he knows she's still sad about Peter, but that he wanted to make that clear. And then they continued talking about Jen, how to get Jen out, and Kitty came in and he asked her for her help because she's good at schemes, he says, and she seems to be coming around to liking John more because he included her in their little game, so that's always good. So on to chapter 46. That means we have like 10-ish chapters to go. What? Kitty. Kitty drives me crazy. I don't like her. So she missed the bus the next day for school, and Largene thought she was just gonna ride with her. But then she ran outside to Peter's car because Peter's there to pick her up because of course he is. It's just so weird. She rode off with Peter, and Peter like barely even looked at Largene. I don't know, it's weird. I understand that like Kitty liked him and stuff, but I don't know. She has to learn at some point that if people break up, you can't just be friends with them forever. Like, sometimes that doesn't really work, and if Peter's gonna be like really cold to Largene, she can't just keep hanging out with him. The only reason they hung out in the first place was because Peter and Largene were dating. It's just a little weird. I feel like for Peter to agree to go pick Kitty up for school if she like called him and asked is inappropriate. That's weird. I wouldn't do that if I was in that position because it's just, again, weird. We got this really long paragraph. It's like half the page of literally just Lara Jean listing out all the foods that she made for Kitty's birthday party, which I kind of get in this situation. It's like kind of relevant because she's trying to go all out and make Kitty's birthday really special. But it's like happens a lot in this book with really, really long sections of like really specifically describing what they eat. And it's just, look, I would have no problem with it, and it would be a fine detail to include if it wasn't for the fact that like the whole first quarter, third of the book was so much nothing and so bland and boring. It's like, okay, you're wasting time. We need to get to the things that actually matter because you've already wasted enough time. I don't need to read a whole paragraph of half a page of food. Alright, so I didn't have much to say about chapter 46 either. It was just Kitty's birthday party. It was cute. She had like a moment where she was sad about, it seemed like one of her best friend was getting closer to this other girl and they were leaving her out, and Lara Jean comforted her, and it was really sweet and just a good chapter. I have a feeling that the rest of these chapters are probably going to be less interesting video-wise because they're going to be more interesting book-wise, if that makes sense. Like, the more I like the book, the less I have to really say about it other than that was a good chapter. So, yeah, I'm worried that the rest of these videos are going to be kind of boring, but maybe we'll just get through it really quick. So, I'm not going to read 47 right now because it's actually really long, so I'm gonna stop there because I've been filming videos for like a couple hours now and I'm tired and I have to go to a party later tonight and talk to people, and it's gonna be really fun because I like all those people, but I've been talking a lot, so I gotta rest my voice. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Hello, I am back. I just had the best nap ever and read some of another book called Twisted Fate by Jessie Elliott, who's a fellow author, tuber, and indie published author. We're reading her book as part of a book club over on Morgan Lee's channel, which I'll go ahead and link down below because that'll be fun. We're reading her book sometime this month, and then I think at the end of the month we're gonna have a live stream where we talk about it. So I was reading a little bit of that, and then I took a nap, and now here I am back to read some more of this because I have about an hour before I have to leave and I don't know what else to do with myself, so I guess we're doing this. Oh snap, you guys. John and Lara Jean were following Genevieve around and they lost her, so they decided to go to Bellevue because she had a meeting for her party that she was planning for them, and it started snowing, and Stormy, being John's grandmother, absolutely forbids him to drive home in the snow, so they're gonna have to stay at Bellevue together overnight or something, which is gonna be exciting, probably. We'll see. Okay, after all the hate I've given to similes, by the way, I don't hate similes, I just hate Jenny Han's similes, but here's one. It's not exactly a simile, but it's an example kind of metaphor thing that I actually did like. It says, she's talking about the snow falling outside, and she says, snow is shaking down on it, meaning the garden outside, the way Kitty shakes powdered sugar on pancakes, fast and a lot. I thought that was cute and an appropriate, valid example that we can picture in our minds that's not like, what are you even talking about? What does that mean? So I just thought I would throw that out there. I don't hate all metaphors. I actually really love metaphors and similes. I've been reading a lot of other books recently, and there have been plenty of similes that I thought were great. So it's just some of Jenny Han's are just weird and out of left field to me. You guys, this is so cute. This chapter is adorable. They played in the snow and they were like wrestling, and he said, if I didn't know you were still hung up on Kavinsky, I would kiss you right now. Oh! And then later they're sitting by the fire and they're talking, and he says, he's talking about how he still sees her as he used to when they were kids and stuff, and says, you're still the same to me, I'll always see you that way, Lara Jean. And she says in her head, his words, the way he's looking at me, it makes me feel warm inside, golden, all the way to my frozen toes. That is how a boy is supposed to make you feel when you are in love with them and you're excited to be around them. And it's just such a stark contrast to Peter, and I wish that she would, I don't know, I'm like confused now and hoping that I'm wrong about having heard that she ends up with Peter in the end, because if she does end up with John, then I would say I don't actually hate this book, except for the fact that like the first this much or more could have just not been there. But once things actually started to happen, and you know, if she ended up with John, then I would say this is actually a really good story to kind of show people your first love probably isn't gonna be like the one for you, and you're probably gonna go through a breakup and it's gonna suck, but you'll maybe find someone who's even better for you, and maybe you'll look back and realize that the way you viewed that person, the way she views Peter as like being so great and like stars in her eyes, was really just because it was her first love and she didn't have anything to compare it to, and now she can maybe look back and see that it really could be so much better than that, and she didn't even realize. But I don't think that's gonna happen, which is frustrating, but right now I'm just enjoying Lara Jean and John being so sweet and cute together. Okay, so chapter 47 was really cute and sweet. I wish it would have been even longer and we would have had more time with Lara Jean and John being cute and adorable together. But it was pretty good, and basically it just ended with like Stormy asking her if she kissed him, and she said no, and then she left and went home. And I just started chapter 48 because it's like 2 pages long. And Lara Jean's talking to Chris, and she said something about Bellevue, and she was like, oh, all you ever talk about is Bellevue, and she said, it's my job, and Chris said, oh, should I get a job? And then Lara Jean says, I roll my eyes, every conversation we have turns back to Chris and the concerns of Chris. Yeah, I've kind of noticed that, and it makes me question, why are you friends with this person? Interesting. Something weird's going on with Jen. So she was talking to Chris, and she asked her if she wanted to be a cigar girl for the party at Bellevue, and of course Chris replies in typical Chris fashion and says that she can't give up a Friday night for this. Something better will definitely come up on a Friday. A Tuesday maybe. Can you change it to next Tuesday? And yeah, so she's being annoying and rude. And then Lara Jean asks her if she's heard anything from Jen, because she's been really careful not to run into her, but that it seems like she's barely playing the game. And Chris just doesn't answer and says that she's gotta go. And it's suspicious and strange, so I don't know. We will see. I'm really curious to see what this whole subplot with like Jen having something weird going on with her family and Peter helping her is gonna be, because there's not a whole lot left in this book, and if I'm right about Lara Jean kind of ending up with Peter in the end, which probably means in the end of the next book, I don't know if she'll necessarily end up back with him at the end of this book, but if I'm right about that, then it seems like there's not really a lot of time for something to happen that will make us like Peter more, and I'm curious to see if the stuff going on with Jen is gonna be the thing that makes us like, oh, I understand now why Peter always like was ditching Lara Jean for Jen and why he couldn't tell her the truth, but I just can't really see what could be happening that would make me feel that way, so I feel like it's gonna be a flop on, at least for me, if that's the case. But I'm really curious to see how that's gonna end, so we'll just have to wait and see, because I gotta charge my phone before I leave for the party tonight. So that's it for today, and maybe we'll get back to it tomorrow or Monday or something like that. Alright, I just got back from the gym, and I'm all energized and ready to read some of this book. We're getting fairly close to the end. I'm on chapter 49 out of 56, so we've got like this much left. We're so close. Oh, I guess, okay, so Lara Jean's getting ready for her party at Bellevue, and also she's trying to figure out how to tag out Jen, and we might be figuring out some of Jen's secrets soon, hopefully. Oh yeah, and Chris said that really ominous thing, or rather, she didn't say anything when Lara Jean asked if she'd heard anything from Jen lately, so we'll see what that's about soon, hopefully. Oh boy, John just picked up Lara Jean for the USO party. That's what it's called, right? USO. I'm not gonna lie, I don't exactly know what that means. Anyway, moving on. So Lara Jean got all dressed up in like 40s themed dress for the party, and she and Kitty were just talking about like John versus Peter, and Kitty was saying how boring John's car is and that Peter has a much nicer car, and John just picked her up in a red convertible Mustang, and he's in full uniform with tan dress shirt with tan tie, tan slacks, tan belt and hat. His hair's parted to the side. He looks dashing like a real soldier. And that sounds rather dashing to me. So Lara Jean's flattered that he went through all the trouble to order a uniform on eBay for the party. And I think that's super cute. There's something really adorable about, like, men being willing to get all dressed up for something, like a costume party or a fancy dinner or something like that. It's just sweet, because it's usually something that women care about more, and you know that the guys don't really care that much, but they're like going through the extra effort just because it'll make you happy, and that's really cute of him. Oh my gosh, you guys, John took swing dance lessons to dance with Lara Jean at this party. He's just the cutest. How is nobody talking about John? All I ever hear when people talk about this series is Peter, 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 and I've never even heard John Ambrose McLaren's name at all spoken from anyone, and I don't understand, because he's like the cutest, sweetest boy ever, and I adore him. Oh my gosh. The party just ended, and Lara Jean, is she outside now? Yeah, she's coming up the entrance of Bellevue, and she sees Genevieve and Peter walking up, and her arm is linked in his, and now that just like ruined her night completely, because Peter's the worst. Still. So John pulls up, and Peter, well, okay, first Lara Jean thinks that Jen is there to tag her out for the game, and it seems like that probably is why she's there. Peter says, like, he didn't know that that was why, and he said, you said that you needed to pick something up from your grandma's friend, and she said, I do, this is just an amazing coincidence, I guess I win, huh? But she hasn't tagged Lara Jean yet. And then John pulls up in his convertible, and of course they're all dressed up, so Peter and Jen are like, what's going on? And Peter says, what are you doing here? And John says that his great-grandmother lives there, and her name's Stormy, and she's a friend of Lara Jean's. And Oh, he says, you may have heard of her. She's a friend of Lara Jean's. And Lara Jean says, I'm sure he wouldn't remember. And then she says, Peter frowns at me, and I know he doesn't. It's just like him not to. And it's just so funny how quickly and easily she says things like this, but then, like, just recently, she was still really hung up on him and still didn't, like, I don't understand why she didn't see these things sooner, because I saw them for, like, forever, that he doesn't really seem to care that much about her life or, like, want to listen to her. It's hard when you're reading a fictional story because you can't tell, like, is this character just bad or is it the writing that's bad? Because Peter never seemed like someone to me who wanted to hear a lot about Lara Jean's life, and like they never seemed like they really talked about deep stuff. But it's like, because it's a fictional story, it's like, okay, but did they talk about that stuff off the page and the author just didn't bother to show us? Are we supposed to assume that they talk about stuff like that and that they care about each other's lives enough to, like, have conversations even though we're not seeing them? Because to me, I always assumed they just didn't talk about stuff, in which case I don't understand why Lara Jean wouldn't already know long ago that Peter doesn't really seem to care much about her life. But it's hard to tell when it's a story and not real life, because I don't know if it's just the writer not showing us stuff. Jen is being such a jerk. I don't know why that surprises me, but she, like, lunged at Lara Jean, and Lara Jean, like, ducked behind a pillar, and she said, don't be such a baby, Lara Jean. Just accept that you lose and I win. Like, how on earth is this Jen winning and Lara Jean losing? You both have each other's name, and you haven't tagged her yet. So, that, like, you are no closer to winning the game right now than Lara Jean is if she tags you first. So, I don't understand what she has to, like, be bragging about right now. And then, of course, John opens the passenger door for her in his car, and they drive off together. So Lara Jean doesn't get tagged, which is what I thought was going to happen, and I am happy about that. Also, Peter is acting really petty and stupid and, like, annoyed about John and Lara Jean hanging out together, and he's like, is this a date? Are you on a date with him? And it's like, Peter, shut the heck up. You hang out with Genevieve, like, 24/7. Even when you were dating Lara Jean, you were still hanging out with Jen 24/7, and she's your ex. John isn't even Lara Jean's ex. He's just a guy that she used to have a crush on. Jen is your ex, and you hang out with her 24/7, so you have absolutely zero ground to stand on when it comes to being jealous of Lara Jean for hanging out with another guy. She can hang out with whoever she wants to. So, John just kissed Lara Jean, you guys, and it was really cute. Although, I have to say, for how much I was, like, waiting and waiting for them to finally kiss, it was a little bit anticlimactic, I guess. Like, the moment was really cute, like, driving off in their car, and they're all dressed up and stuff, but it was just ruined a little bit by the way that Jenny Han always ends her chapters so abruptly, in my opinion. Like they're in the middle of a conversation, kind of, and she says that she thinks he's changed the most out of all of them, and he says how, and she says, you used to be sort of quiet in your own head, now you're so confident. And what follows is the last paragraph of this chapter. It says, I still get nervous, Lara Jean. John has a cowlick, a little piece of hair that won't stay down. It is stubborn. It's this piece more than anything else that makes my heart squeeze. And that's the end of the chapter. And I'm not a fan of that writing style. It's too abrupt to me. It makes, like, the kiss just happened halfway down, right here. This is where he kisses her. And then there's this, they're talking for like a minute, and then that little bit, and that's the end of the chapter. And it just felt really, like, I don't know, I feel like it took away from the kiss, that there wasn't, like, this moment where he drops her off at home and they're like kind of, I don't know, awkwardly saying goodbye, and then she's like daydreaming about everything that just happened as she's going to bed or something. I feel like that would have been a better end to the chapter than just ending in like the middle of a conversation, kind of. And to be fair, chapter 50 starts, the first sentence says, after John drops me off at home. So apparently, like, it's kind of gonna pick up from there. But I just felt like, again, it's kind of a pattern of hers that she ends her chapters that way, and I just don't really like it. You guys, Lara Jean just said to Margot that she thinks she could be a person who's in love with more than one person at a time. Why? Why on earth are you still in love with Peter? He's so not worth that at all, and I don't get it. So far, though, this chapter has been really good. Lara Jean came over to Miss Rothschild's house. That name is so hard to say, but she told her to call her Trina, so now I can call her Trina too. So she came over to Trina's house because Kitty was there, and Kitty was asleep on the couch, and she told her everything about, like, what happened at the night, and that John kissed her and stuff, and it was sweet, just them kind of talking and kind of having, like, a sort of a mother-daughter kind of bonding moment. And she was trying to get her to agree to go out on a date with her dad, and she did agree to it. She said that if he asked her out, she would say yes, which is cute, and they bonded over talking about losing their mothers and what it's like to not have them around anymore, and it was good. It was really cute conversation that had some more depth than this book has shown most of the time, so I liked that a lot. So Margot says that she thinks Lara Jean, she says that she half falls in love with everyone she meets, and that's part of her charm. You're in love with love. And that might be true, like maybe half falling in love, but I think she needs to understand the difference between actually being in love and, like, loving someone, because I don't understand how anyone can be in love with Peter when you just had that amazing night with John, and all the other times she's talked with John, and he's just the best and so sweet and awesome, and also really, really handsome too, which is something that, like, maybe Peter has some kind of charm, or that he's really handsome and John's not, so he's more of like a friend and they don't have that romantic connection. But Lara Jean does seem to have a romantic connection with John, and she's very attracted to him, and he was like one of her first, like, serious crushes, and so there's really no explanation to me for why she would still be having such strong feelings for Peter in comparison to John when Peter's just not very great. It's just weird to me. I will never understand. I will never understand why she liked Peter so much to begin with, and why she continues to like him so much now. But again, chapter 50 ended with just kind of abruptly. Like, it's just weird. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that in reading Jenny Han's books, but I feel like all her chapters end that way, and it's strange to me. It's not at all what I'm used to, and I don't really care for it, but whatever. Alright, so that's gonna be it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed and continue to enjoy watching me torture myself with reading this stupid, stupid book. If you'd like to see the rest of this series, make sure to subscribe below so you can be alerted as soon as I upload. I post new videos on this series every Thursday. And that's it. See y'all next time, and have a great day. Bye.